It is a special presentation from UFC Fight Pass as we are live and you are looking at the wonderful Sphere in beautiful Las Vegas. It was the site of UFC 306, and it was a phenomenal night of action. We're here to break it down on Extra Rounds. Hey, everybody. I'm TJ DeSantis along with the one and only Miss Pearl Gonzalez, and she's back with the maracas. And I tried to hold it down to a minimal noise level during the watch along tonight. But as Pearl told me before we got live on the air here tonight, she said, "You can't stop me on Extra Rounds." And Pearl, you would not be denied.
Thank you so much. I had an absolute blast tonight. The fights were unforgettable. Absolutely. Like when I imagined this show, it surpassed any imagination I had for it. It was incredible.
Yeah, and for good reason. It was a show that, celebrated a variety of things. One, obviously, Mexican culture and heritage with, the fight sports. And we got literal history lessons throughout the night. But it also celebrates the innovation of technology and the UFC's vision to bring a different experience all together. And, can you even describe what we saw tonight
Oh my goodness.
the visual department? Because I can't find the words. We were trying to all night.
I could not. I mean, and we were watching it from a screen.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it was like live inside of there. And the costume changes, the regalia, the native, the tribute that they made to the Mexican culture. It was just, it was mind blowing.
Yeah.
How beautiful it was on top of the incredible performances that we got to witness tonight.
100%. Let's take a look at what we're going to break down because we haven't even talked about the actual fights itself. And it was amazing stuff, honestly. Your main event, Sean O'Malley defending his title against Merab Dvalishvili. And, Pearl, what can you say? It was a night where we had to kind of count on Sean O'Malley being perfect. And he wasn't able, or Merab Dvalishvili being perfect, but it was O'Malley who wasn't able to get his game going until the final 90 seconds where he hurt Merab pretty bad to the body. But ultimately, Merab rallies and dominates. I had him winning 49-46. Two of the judges had it 48-47. One other judge 49-46. But it was one-way traffic for all but 1.5 minutes of our main event.
Oh my goodness. What an incredible game plan that the Merab, what camp is that? What camp is Ray Longo from?
We'll call it the Sarah Longo camp.
The Sarah Longo camp. Like, what an incredible game plan they had. They forced O'Malley to fight either completely outside of his range or fight a tight fight. And they knew they had the advantage in the grappling. And Merab just never stopped moving from start to finish. Just nonstop movement, his feints. He was using this lateral movement. But what was most impressive to me was how he stood completely out of range while striking, so completely nullifying any of O'Malley's tools until it was time to come in. And then he has fantastic timing on his takedowns. It was impeccable tonight. And as soon as he got his hands wrapped around O'Malley, it was just whatever he wanted to do. He did such a great job of moving through these positions and just really owning that octagon tonight. It was very difficult for Sean. How do you solve a puzzle like that? He needs his range. And at first I thought he was doing a great job of controlling the range, but very soon did Merab come in and take him down. And it was the Merab show after that.
Yeah, without question. It was a teep to the body that hurt Merab badly in the final 90 seconds. Ultimately, he was able to hold on. Sugar tried to do everything he could to force a stoppage late, but it was too little too late for him. How badly do you think Merab was hurt to the body from that kick?
On his inability to keep a poker face, that it was serious and it was tough, but he knew he had maybe 90 seconds, the absolute most, to just hold on and to stay strong. And what I'm more interested in is what was Merab saying to O'Malley throughout the fight and what happened in that opening of the first round. It was interesting, but if you watch though closely, they were talking to each other. There was a lot of mental warfare. There's a lot of energy exchange that we as outsiders don't necessarily get to experience or completely understand. And so I'm a little interested in what was happening inside that fight.
Yeah, I would like to go back and maybe at the press conference we'll get some clarification on what was said because within the first minute, Marab was making a big stink to Herb Dean about something that was being said because the fight had started and he immediately sort of disengaged and started getting the attention of Herb, and then we saw O'Malley have a hand inside the glove when he went for a submission on Marab. Herb had to insert himself there. There was a questionable knee. Herb was stressing. You know, Herb was definitely stressing. We talked about the mental warfare between the two athletes. Unfortunately, I said it on the watch along, and I believe it to be true that Herb Dean, unfortunately, was the victim of it all.
Oh my goodness. Herb was like the mom. Let me pull my guns out for this one.
Uh-oh.
Herb was like mom. He was like,
okay, your technique on spinning them needs to get a little better, but
he was like, hey, you stop it. You stop it. You stop it. That's what I
yeah. You stop
poor
it.
Herb. It was kind of funny to watch. I'm sure it wasn't funny for Herb,
No.
and I'm, but it was kind of funny to witness.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Marab gets it done. O'Malley, he had a successful title defense after beating Aljo a little over a year ago. He beat Chito Vera, avenging that loss. So now, he's knocked down to challenger status at best. What do you think the road for Suga is back to a title? Because he's not guaranteed an automatic rematch by any means. What's he going to have to do to try to get back there?
Well, most certainly not. I mean, we saw them highlight Umar
Yep.
out there, so we kind of, it was foretelling on who Marab's next opponent will be. But I think that O'Malley's still so young, and he's got this beautiful, like, what's that persona
Mm-hmm.
and just this aura about him that he just goes back to the drawing board and he goes and he works on some of these things. I thought that his biggest openings in this fight was during the disengagement of the grappling and his ability to really shoot his shots then, because that was to me when Marab was most vulnerable, is during the break of the grappling exchanges. And if we get to watch the younger fighters, they are fantastic at this. And that next generation of fighters, they are really amazing at that transitional area in the fight. So I just think he just goes back to the drawing board. He figures out, some things that he needs to work on, which we got to see. He did a great job scrambling. I mean, he did a lot of good things for not being the grappler. He was tricky on his back at times. He was able to get to his feet when he really wanted to. And I think it's just going back to the drawing board and getting better. This was a great experience for him. I believe we will see him again fighting for that belt. But for now, just go home, reflect, and recuperate.
Yeah, there are other fights that are interesting for O'Malley at 135. I mean,
35.
Davison Figueiredo is there. That'd be interesting. And also too, like, he's been a pretty active champion. Maybe O'Malley deserves a little bit of time off. I'm not sure, but he's gonna have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to get past Marab should he get the opportunity to put him in his crosshairs again, because it was a tough style fight. I still think that he was close to finishing him, like we said, in the last 90 seconds, but he's got to figure out how to do that earlier so he can have multiple chances, because Marab was able to survive. If that situation had happened in the second round and he becomes hurt to the body, I don't know if he makes it through another round after that. If we were going into the third, it would have been a tough, 5 minutes there and another tough, 10 minutes afterwards in championship round. So if that moment had come earlier in the fight, we might be saying and still.
I agree. I think that what might have helped O'Malley in this fight, and I say this right because I was sitting here watching it. I wasn't inside the octagon with him doing this, but his feints. And I thought that he started to feint a little more in that fifth round, and I think that plays a lot of dividends because Marab was so far on the outside, and he had this beautiful lateral movement, and he never stopped moving. The time from the moment that fight started until the very end, he never stopped moving for 1 second. And we saw O'Malley kind of plant at times and stop in positions in different places of the fight. And so I think the feigning and that movement would really help O'Malley. But it's just back to the drawing board again. He's young. He's got the whole world in front of him. just go back to the drawing board and get back to work.
Yeah, I think that is something that is key. Bilal was talking about this on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I actually made a tweet about it earlier related to John Jones, who lost an early fight in his career via DQ. Everyone knows it wasn't a real loss, but he said some fighters, just don't know how to handle losing. And I think the question I asked about John was, did the fact that he lost his O controversially relieve any unnecessary pressure that maybe he would be still carrying today if he had that O intact. For Sean, yeah, he already lost a fight. He avenged it. But the question is, how is he going to react to losing? And now it's not just a number he loses next to his name. He loses the identity of being a champion. I don't think that's going to affect him. I think he knows who he is. I think he's comfortable who he is. And I think with or without a belt, Sean O'Malley's the Sugar Show, and he's one of the most bright, polarizing, and attractive stars to fans all over this combat sports game for a variety of reasons, not just because he's the champ.
I agree 100%. Like, we need him in our sport. His character, he's so trendy. He's got this amazing personality. Him and his coach have this fantastic relationship. And so, yeah, I think it's we have these nights as athletes. We have off nights. And it may have been just one of those nights for O'Malley where he just couldn't get his engine going. And so I think, again, back to the drawing board and just work on some very key things like getting back up and the scrambling ability, and keep controlling his range a little bit more. And we see a whole new fighter, to be honest. And Shevchenko was a great example of that tonight, of what a whole new fighter can look like.
Without question, let's talk about Valentina. We'll talk about coming to terms with a loss. She had to do that in the first meeting with Alexa Grasso, and then in the second meeting, a lot of people thought that she did enough to win. She earned a draw that night, but tonight she's back on top of the proverbial throne. She grinds her way to a decision. It wasn't the most attractive fight from a entertainment standpoint, but if you are someone who appreciates the finer points of mixed martial arts, there was a lot to fall in love with, because Valentina Shevchenko fought a perfect tactical game for 25 minutes, and now she is once again the UFC flyweight queen.
She looked so good tonight. Like, she refused to be denied tonight. And you saw that from the moment she walked inside that octagon until that belt was wrapped around her waist. She refused. And I almost felt like we saw like a whole new fire in her tonight. And she was so technically on point. And I was curious, because these ladies have fought each other for so long, for the last, 1 or 2 years, who would come out with the game plan? And does that force an athlete, when they have to fight the same fighter, that same style, does it force an athlete to get creative? And I think that Valentina answered that question. She did. She went back to the drawing board. She did not do her traditional judo. She didn't utilize how she tends to go to her tosses and hip throws. She utilized wrestling, and she fought fire with fire. She was timing Grasso's takedowns and shooting straight in on her from in front of her, straight in front of her. And I thought that was so impressive. Aside from the takedowns and her entries in her fight, her ability to control the fight wherever it went. She was surfing the entire night, just surfing Grasso's hips wherever she went. She went to the back, and then she went to side control, and she followed into her half guard, and then moved into mount, and just constantly surfed the body in these different positions and refused to be denied tonight.
Yeah, and the question is now, what do? You have a trilogy that wraps up. It's been the only fight that has been in front of both Alexa Grasso and Shevchenko since March of last year. We now finally put it, to bed as far as the trilogy is concerned, but we are stuck with this problem of one fight belonged to Grasso, one was a draw. This fight tonight belongs to Shevchenko, so you're stuck even again. Do we do a fourth straight fight?
What do you think?
I don't think so. Just because I feel like we've held up the entire division for so long. You brought it up on the watch along, like Manon Farrow. Like, what does she have to do at this point? She can't wait any longer. She doesn't deserve to wait any longer. She weighed in for this as the backup. Like, let her fight Valentina. Let Alexa, maybe fight the winner of Nami Yunus and Blanchfield and a title eliminator if she wants to get back. I just think any other answer isn't necessarily a bad one.
No, and Grasso's still young. She's 31. I think that she also has a lot of time to improve and, find her way back to that title. But I do think that Manon is very deserving of this shot, and there's several women that are climbing up the ranks right now. Natalia Silva is also there along with Rose and Erin Blanchfield. They all are deserving. They've all been winning fights. They've all been active and working towards that belt. So I agree. I think that we give this one a rest. For now, it is 0-0, but I thought that Valentina, the second fight that they fought, was questionable. A lot of people believe that Valentina won that fight. And then this third fight, I mean, she put a stamp on this that she won in a very dominating fashion. And so we can put this beautiful story to rest and move on to another
Yeah,
one.
and that's the thing too. Like some of the names that we mentioned, like Blanchfield or Rose, either of those ladies taking on Grasso, I think is a phenomenal fight. It's a main event fight. It's something that could headline a fight night. It's something that could be a co-main event title eliminator on a pay-per-view. I think that any of those options are phenomenal, not only for the athletes themselves to sort of refresh and think about a different challenge, but there's entertainment value.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%. There's so many fun fights in the flyweight division, and it's fun to watch the younger generation kind of rise through the rankings and stir up the division a little bit. So yes, I'm 100% with you and agree with you on that one.
Yeah, let's talk about the younger generation rise through the rankings because we saw that tonight. Diego Lopes earns a dominant decision. It looked like he was going to put away Brian Ortega in the first minute of the fight. Two-piece combination. Basically knocked out Ortega on his feet, but the second strike woke him right back up. And Diego went to the floor with Ortega. Gave him some looks there, but ultimately stands up. Had to respect the fighter that Ortega was in the second round as well as the third. But ultimately, it was one-way traffic. Ortega was game and gritty, but this one was never in doubt. Diego Lopes looks like the star that we all believed him to be coming into it.
Absolutely. He had a ton of steam rolling into this one and he showcased why tonight, why he has the steam behind him, why he is in line for a title shot and on his way and is he that good? Well, he answered a lot of questions tonight. As you said, that first round that almost knocked Ortega's socks off, even though he didn't have any socks on, but almost knocked his socks off. And just what was impressive to me was how patient and composed he stood. He didn't go and jump on him and try to go for the kill shot. He took his time, he stood composed and worked through that fight. And some people can say, oh, he should have put him away or this or that. And perhaps so. But at the same time, he needs all the experience he can get. And what better place? Where is there a better place than on UFC Noche in that sphere, under those lights and under those incredible, the surroundings and in his environment against Brian Ortega? Like he got so many valuable seconds inside that octagon that can never be duplicated. And I truly believe that yes, it would have been fun and exciting to watch him finish Ortega. I think that he got so much more better and just grew as an athlete, as a fighter, going in there and going the distance with Ortega. And hats off to Ortega. Like, how tough is he to find his way to survive in that first round, to make it out, and then he came forward, especially in that last round, that third round. He started to find his momentum, started to find his range, and really press that fight and force Diego to fight a boxing fight with him. But yeah, I mean, Diego just looked impeccable tonight.
Yeah, 100%. And, this is a young man who's come in and has done everything right. I mean, he lost his UFC debut in May of 2023 and did so with such style that everyone was buzzing about him. And then, he created just a path to tonight where he shined in the biggest way possible. And that's my only concern. And we talked about this on the watch along with Jens was, do you fight him again relatively quickly? I don't think he's hurt. I think he's motivated. I don't think that this kid ever stops thinking about his path and his rise through the ranks, but he has fought 6 times in about 16 months. Is that too much too soon? Do you try to pump the brakes a little bit on his rise so you don't ask too much of him too early and then maybe the rise goes sideways a little bit?
Absolutely not. If the momentum is there, then you just let the momentum flow and you let it go. And I mean, that guy was out there. Was it the very next fight for his teammate and
Yeah.
cornered Grasso for 5 rounds? Like he didn't take 1 minute of rest. I
No.
mean, he literally went right back to work, and that just goes to show his motivation and where he is. And if when you have an athlete like that that's in their groove, that's in the right place mentally, physically, spiritually, and they want to fight, let them fight, let them go, because it just takes one wrong move. It takes one. And I truly believe when the hype train is going, there's full momentum, and they are happy, and they're healthy, and they're ready and wanting to go, let them go.
Yeah, no, 100%. And he did what he needed to do tonight in such a way that I think we learned a lot more than just that he was the better, fighter tonight and got the win. We saw a glimpse into the future of what he can do when he knows he needs to be patient and respectful of his opponent because he had Ortega badly hurt. And I think, fighters in that position, if they're not mature enough, they might find themselves in danger on the floor trying to put him away. Lopes didn't do that. He was, patient and stayed out of danger on the floor. He was patient again on the feet later in the fight when Ortega started to get his boxing going. I mean, there were moments where Brian Ortega could have stolen that fight or at least the momentum away from Diego Lopes, and Lopes was having none of it. And that's the type of composure you're going to have when he gets a potential, title eliminator or a championship opportunity in the future.
Absolutely. I mean, it was discipline. Most importantly, it was his discipline tonight. He stood disciplined regardless of how high that roller coaster went, how low it may have went, which it really didn't go that low, but he stood disciplined throughout that remainder of that fight. And you need that. You need, especially at the highest level when you're fighting champions, when you're fighting for 5 rounds, it's an emotional roller coaster. My best way to describe a fight is getting into a car accident every 10 seconds, like over and over and over again. And your ability to maintain your composure, as you said, your discipline, your focus, is extremely important. And especially I can't even imagine what that environment was like for Diego and for any of the athletes that fought tonight and competed and performed. But to stay and composed and to stay tight throughout that entire fight, it speaks volumes. And that's what I mean by it probably did him more good than it did harm, him fighting that full fight, because he got so much experience, was able to keep his poker face, stood in his stance, stood disciplined, stood focused, never got emotional. And gosh, that's so important, that's so valuable, and it's also impressive to witness.
Yeah, no, without question. And it was a great night for a variety of reasons. I don't think we even have time to get into all of the action in one of the craziest rounds I've ever seen in mixed martial arts that unfolded tonight. We saw a war between Esteban Rybovich and Daniel Zellhuber. Split decision goes the way of the Argentine. Ronaldo Rodriguez and Ode Osborne, they opened up the card. And again, like, I don't even know where the lead is. We have two new champions tonight, but we saw a show that took place in this sphere, and you're taking a look at it now. Like, we knew it was going to be a unique experience, Pearl, but watching it through the television, I was honestly concerned that maybe it would be lost on us being that we weren't in the building. But the sights and sounds of the production going on in Las Vegas, it transmitted through the television to us. And I really do feel like it was a surreal experience watching something that we likely might not ever see again in combat sports.
It was unreal. Like any imagination that I had or expectation that I had for tonight's show, it completely exceeded it. It was, again, like the storylines, the outfit changes, the way that they really displayed the Mexican culture from the very beginning until leading up to modern day. It was so special. It was such a special treat for for Mexicans and for us Latinos to see. It was like a thank you, to how much the Mexicans have impacted combat sports and impacted the UFC. And as you said it on the watch party, how important of an impact Mexico has made in the recent years, especially in the UFC. And it was beautiful to witness. I can't imagine what that looked like
Yeah.
there.
No,
Oh
100%.
my
And,
goodness.
and and I feel like we do need to sort of celebrate that culture for good reason, because forever we've talked about mixed martial arts gaining acceptance, and the Mexican fan base has been one the UFC has been after for a long time, and for the longest time there wasn't a star that could break through in the way that we've seen in recent years. We've seen Brandon Moreno capture UFC gold, Yair Rodriguez do this same thing with an interim belt. Alexa Grasso doesn't come out, with the win and belt tonight, but we saw what she did with Valentina. And, regionally, we see more and more athletes coming up from Mexico, and they're ready to compete. And these combat sport athletes from south of the border, they're choosing MMA, where historically they've always chosen boxing, and that's exciting.
Absolutely, and what a tribute that that the UFC, that MMA, the sport has made to them. Like, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this, and gosh, it's so beautiful. Now imagine what happens, for England or these other countries. Like,
Yeah.
it's just so beautiful, and also it's like, oh my goodness, we talked about this on the watch along. Like, they keep continuing to one up themselves. The UFC does every single year. Like, can you imagine what is next after such an incredible night tonight? I can't. I
Yeah.
don't know why.
And,
I can't.
and that's the thing. They've raised the bar year after year, but just in this year alone, this calendar year of 2024, you had 300, you had 303, you had the Sphere tonight. Alex Pereira is fighting for the 800th time in the last calendar year. We got MSG right around the corner. They're going to finish strong with a great card in December, and it's unbelievable. It truly is, and it's great to be here to break it down with you. And yeah, I can't.
Like, what a blessing it is for us to be a part of this sport and
Yeah.
to be able to call it and to watch this unfold. Like, never did I ever imagine in my early years when I first started in this sport that it would be where it is today. Like, it's so crazy to watch. Like, when I started joining, I don't even think it wasn't legal, and it wasn't on TV. And like, here we are today in my lifetime where it is today. Gosh, it's such a blessing to be a part of this. It really is.
Yeah, 100%. And, it somehow seems to get bigger year after year after year. And I know that tonight it was billed as a once-in-a-lifetime show, but honestly, I hope the idea, of this Sphere isn't completely in the rear view, because it was pulled off in such a way that, again, I called it in the moment, like, this can't be it. Because think about this. Every time you run something for the first time in broadcast, it's always its worst it's going to be, because you're
Right.
inevitably going to get better. You're going to learn things. I'm sure the production team learned a lot of things. I'm sure it was as flawless as it looked to us. I'm sure there were things that they, know they could do better next time. And, I don't know if the price tag is necessarily justifiable, all things considered, but maybe you save some of that expense knowing what you know after doing a show the first go around. I hope they do it again. I really do.
Me too. And next time, I hope the bosses are listening. I want to be there.
Okay.
I want to be there.
You're going to have to leave the maracas at home, Pearl.
No.
They won't let you
Why
bring-
would you not?
Okay, well, at least leave the guns at home. Okay.
Wait, one more time. One more time.
There we go.
I'm gonna shoot him. Pew pew.
Pew pew. All right.
Pew,
I'm gonna let you go, Pearl Gonzalez. I appreciate you
Pew pew.
as always.
It was a blast to hang out with you again on Fight Night, TJ. Pew pew.
A blast. I saw what you did there. That's good. That's really good. I don't know if you did it on purpose, but I appreciated it. All right. Goodbye, Pearl.
Goodbye. Love you.
All
Goodbye, guys.
See ya.
Now.
All right. Bye. She's Pearl Gonzalez. I'm TJ DeSantis. It's extra rounds here on UFC Fight Pass. Of course, we are here courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's take a look at how the odds ultimately shaped up on this one, because there were some changes down the stretch. We had Sean O'Malley earlier in the week as a favorite, and that was not the case come fight time. Let's take a look at what we had here. Sean O'Malley earlier in the week, minus 135 when I brought you the Outside the Octagon preview, and then come fight time tonight, he was at even money. There's the change right there. Plus 100 for O'Malley. I guess the betting public, they sensed what was in the air, and that was Merab becoming the new UFC bantamweight champion. Alexa Grasso, she went from 130 to minus 135. Obviously, that was not the case. Valentina Shevchenko able to get it done and new. There you go. DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of the UFC. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets instantly with their first $5 bet. Download the app, use the code FightPass, and claim your $250 in bonus bets right now. Oh, man. What a night it was in Las Vegas. Appreciate you joining us, whether it was here on Extra Rounds or the watch-along. The watch-along might be valuable for you to go back and just experience what it was like for us to experience the experience, if you will, because we were making a lot of crazy noises because we were just blown away at what we're seeing, from the Sphere itself, but just the fights tonight were just absolutely insane. What Zeluber and Ribovic did, that was crazy. Romero Rodriguez and Ronaldo Rodriguez and Uday Osborne, that was crazy. I mean, it was just a crazy night of fights. And when you have all the pomp and circumstance built up with the Sphere, you had to have a card like that deliver, and it did. 2 new champions, Merab Dvalishvili, the new bantamweight king, and once again, the flyweight queen, it's Valentina Shevchenko. All right, I'm done. It's been a crazy weekend for me and for everyone involved with this UFC 306 event. So I'm going to go home and go to sleep. You should go home if you're not home and enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll be back covered this week with some more content from UFC Fight Pass. Want to remind you, while I'm here, I'll show you this QR code and get a pretty sweet deal on a year of UFC Fight Pass right now. Just scan it right there. Biggest no-brainer in all of combat sports. Get all the MMA action you can handle anytime. Step into our world with UFC Fight Pass. You scanning it yet? Just trying to save you money, dude. All right. Pretty much doesn't. All right. Extra rounds over and out. That's it. For Pro Gonzalez, I'm TJ DeSantis. We'll see you next time for more extra rounds right here on UFC Fight Pass.